So, remember when people were banned off YouTube or had strikes on their account because they went through and questioned about these kids being used by progressives to push an agenda? Well, you don't normally expect it to appear in BuzzFeed a couple of days later as an article. But luckily for us, they did. This is the problem with mainstream news, is that they can't help but gloat. Well, thanks, because you just proved everybody right. So, obviously, getting back to the common theory around the internet at the moment, that these kids, especially 4 of them, are being pushed into the spotlight by progressive groups or left-wing groups to go through and push an agenda. Now, merely suggesting that is probably enough to get you a strike on your YouTube channel. I'll probably get one for saying that. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that BuzzFeed has actually gone through and admitted it. Let's have a look at the article. The Parkland's teens fighting for gun control have the backing of these huge organisation groups. Okay. What backing are you talking about? Luckily for us, they tell us in the article. Some of the largest organisation groups in the country are helping the majority Stoneman Douglas shooting survivors. Not even 2 weeks ago, they only had one another and social media. Several large progressive organisations, donors and high-powered public relation firms are backing the March for Our Lives movement. They just came out and admitted it. This is what people were saying, that these kids were being pushed into the spotlight, but that were backed by these progressive movements like Soros and Co, for example, to basically push an agenda. And you've literally just admitted it. Like, wow, okay. Which is quickly evolving from a student-run social media effort to end gun violence into a backed by some of the most influential activists in the country. The days after the shooting in Parkland, Florida, that killed 17 people, teenage survivors of majority Stoneman Douglas High School were impossible to ignore because you kept putting them all over TV. The blanket cable news coverage built a massive following on social media and began to organise a rally in the country's capital in support of gun reform. Barely 2 weeks ago, the student survivors sat in the circle in the living room of one of their parents' homes, planning a trip to Tennessee to meet with lawmakers and handle nitty-gritty matters like which media outlets to talk to. And BuzzFeed just happened to be there to record that monumental occasion. Completely. I'm not suggesting anything, YouTube. Just saying. Boy, it was lucky BuzzFeed was there. Since then, major players and organisations including Everytown, Guildford's, Move On, Planned Parenthood and the Women's March LA. Okay, when I was talking about Soros, I was using that as an example. I didn't think he was actually going to come up in the article. Thank you, BuzzFeed. Told BuzzFeed News they are helping the students with logistics, strategy, and planning for the next month's march of Our Lives Rally and beyond. But Can you just remove every strike that you've put on a YouTube channel that's talked about this subject right about now, YouTube? Please. Much of the specific resources and groups are providing to the Parkland students remains unclear. I wonder why. As for the full list of supporting organisations, but they are broad outlines. Why won't you tell us exactly what sort of support you're giving them? Guildford's, an organisation started by former US Republican Gabrielle Guildford, let me guess, she's a Democrat, fights gun violence. Definitely going to be a Democrat. I haven't even checked yet, but I'm just assuming she is working with Everytown and Mums Demand Action for gun sense in America to plan the main march on Washington, as well as the sister rallies across the country. With the event scheduled to happen in less than a month, a spokesperson for Guildford told BuzzFeed News organization they will be, quote, lending support in any way the students need, especially helping to organize these marches from logistics to programming. We applaud these students for demonstrating incredible leadership and demanding that our lawmakers do more to help protect Americans from gun violence, the spokeswoman said. Every Town for Gun Safety, bankrolled almost by Michael Bloomberg, recently secured a $1 million donation from an entrepreneur and philanthropist, Eli Broad. Move On said it was encouraging its millions of members to follow and promote the March for Our Lives movement on social media and attend the rally next month. The group said it had offered support and organisation logistics such as security, portable toilets, but is unclear if the students have taken them up on their offer. A spokesperson for Planned Parenthood said the group is teaching and hosting trainings for young activists across the US to keep the momentum going so they don't get burnt out. Planned Parenthood said it had been in contact with Guildford's, which was spearheading the national coalition of groups working with March for Our Lives. Democratic Republican Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Clinton supporter, mind you, and Brownwood County resident for nearly 30 years, told BuzzFeed News that she's been in touch with the students from Majority Stone Douglas since the day after the shooting. Of course she has. Helping them contact the state legislature and plan their trips to Tallahassee last week. Wasserman Schultz said that because this is the first time many of the students have interacted with legislators, she's advised them on communication strategies and probably talking points. She's also said that she's been in contact with Mark Kelly, Gabrielle's office, husband, and one of the founders of the Guildford Foundation. The students also travelled to DC this week. They posted selfies on Tuesday during their return flight. They met with a handful of Democratic leaders, including Nancy Pelosi, Senator Bernie Sanders, U.S. Republican John Lewis, as well as Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan. The American Foundation for Teachers, which helped bus students and parents to Tallahassee multiple times last week, are now assisting with the March for Our Lives rally. The Foundation's president told BuzzFeed News that they're also helping support next month's march, as well as hoping to shape the vision and mission for the group once the rally is over. Just as a matter of curious, how are you, quote, helping to shape the vision and mission? Because that's starting to ring alarm bells too. There are a lot of people who know how to put a march in Washington, and we're here to help support the teens with the experience in terms of logistics and strategy, but it's still early and they have some time to figure that out. AFT President Randy Windengatti, might be mispronouncing, told BuzzFeed News. We'll be here for that oh shit moment when they realise they need things like permits. Whittigan said this moment is different and there will be a lot of work to do after the next month's march. AFT, as well as the growing contingent of organisations backing the student-led march, are working to cultivate and build upon the movement after the rally. Windengard noted that the groups are also behind the, quote, National School Walkout taking place in April to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Columbine. After that, she said the goal was to carry out the momentum until November, with some of the students already using the hashtag #VoteThemOut. Is anybody in doubt about the political nature behind this movement yet? We're also marching for midterms. Funny how you mentioned that, isn't it? She said, adding that the activists intend for gun control and student safety to be a major platform and key issues for voters in the midterm elections. Sure. So I guess we're getting a fair idea of what the Democratic Party is going to be running on. With their angst, anger, and authenticity, these students have pierced through the normal polarization of this debate, Windingen said. This moment is different. This isn't different. This moment is not different. You are literally using these kids to get yourselves elected. Many details around the march remain unclear, including the exact location. Last week, a coordinator of the Women's March Los Angeles, Dina Kautz, filed a permit application with the National Park Service for the March of Our Lives rally, estimating that 500,000 people will show up. I don't know about that, but anyway. But a spokesperson for the National Park Service told BuzzFeed News on Monday that the permit has yet to be granted, as they are still waiting for the organisers to settle on a location. Krantz has not responded to multiple requests for comment. The students and their parents have also brought on a WT West, a public relations firm in the entertainment industry, to help the March of Our Lives group manager to flood the media inquiries for their campaign has attracted. A spokesperson for March of Our Lives told BuzzFeed News. 42 West is not providing the students with legal advice or financial advice, the spokesperson said, and refused to provide details on who is helping manage the millions of dollars in donations they will receive. Let me guess, the Democratic Party is mostly the ones donating the money? We're also busy helping the kids manage the hundreds of media requests that they receive to talk about what can be done to end gun violence, and we really don't have time right now to get into all the procedural stuff, a spokesperson for 42 West said in the response to a list of questions from BuzzFeed News. Funny how they're being a little bit vague in that. And in any case, a lot of the things that you ask about, like the foundation structure and the kids' long-term plans, haven't yet been worked out. Cameron Cassidy, the student organiser who started the March of Our Lives GoFundMe page, tweeted Sunday about working with money people and law people. In addition to the millions of dollars raised by the A-list celebrities including Oprah, George and Emil Kumi, Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Cusberg, and the March of Our Life GoFundMe page has raised an additional $2.7 million as of Tuesday. Some of the highest GoFundMe donations have come from philanthropists such as Jeff Rakix, I don't know who that is, the former CEO of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and his wife Teresa, as well as Chris and Camille Bentley, who run the Bentley Foundation, which supports organisations in the area of the environment, the arts, and the animal welfare, according to its website. My husband is a supporter of sensible gun laws rights. He owns his gun himself, but respects the responsibility involved. I think a lot of people that actually own guns respect the responsibility involved, but regardless. Camille Bentley said in an email, "We support extensive, rigorous background checks, raising the minimum age to purchase a weapon, and banning assault weapons. Gun laws should be advancing with the advancement of weapons." It's not like anyone's walking around with a railgun now, is it? Jeff and Teresa Rakes donated $25,000, saying they are aware of the students' moral clarity and courage. The students of Stoneman Douglas High School leadership in the aftermath of the horrific shooting and at the school is a powerful reminder that young people can change the world, they said in a statement. Aaron Levy, the founder and the cloud company Box, who has been vocal on Twitter about the work and the student survivors have been doing, donated $10,000, telling BuzzFeed News he won't be able to join the march on Washington, but we're supporting the students from afar. I think these young leaders have a real chance of changing our country for the better, finally, so wanted to throw in a tiny bit of support, Levy told BuzzFeed News in an email. Chris and Camille Bentley told BuzzFeed News they have not been in direct contact with the students, but plan to march alongside them and hope to further their cause. These children have more courage at 16 years old and better our country than lawmakers do. But that actual sentence is completely insane, but anyway. Camille Bentley said, "I would love to give every one of those kids a big hug." Okay, so obviously this was very long, so let's wrap it up quick. Basically, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, to be honest, I actually do think this shooting did happen. Circumstances under that, well, obviously we need to investigate. But I do have a very funny feeling that these kids are being used by the political left / Democrats to push an agenda because they want to win an election, because they want to win the midterms. And I think that's what this is all about. The left has seen this as an opportunity to go through to push this whole gun reform and basically try and steal some of the Trump voters' base. At the end of the day, yeah, I think these kids would have gone through it and jumped on this idea on their own. Of course, I'm not saying they did, but I do think that they have been pushed by the left, funded by the left, even maybe coaxed by the left to say the right things, to push their political agenda. So when they sit there and they say, this isn't a partisan issue, it completely is. You literally have anti-Trump foundations going through, funding these kids, and literally admitting they want to keep pushing this until November. What happens in November? The midterms. You get the idea. But I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think these kids are being used? Do you think that they weren't doing it on their own? Do you think they're compliant? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.